Uh-huh. Before we get started, I want to read something Athel said while I was in the break. He said, I have to say, Lore, the Streaminations have been a weekly delight that helps me to decompress from the week's work. Especially right now when my workplace is the busiest time of the year. As in, I get back from work and end up comatose instantly. Trust me, I know the feeling on that one. So thank you for making them, Athel says. So, in response to this, I say, Athel, not only are you welcome, but I wanted to say something on camera that I actually said off camera a little bit earlier. You guys are awesome. Oh, I've been getting some negativity into YouTube comments here and there. It's mostly from the same general group of people, but for the most part, you guys have been very well behaved, very positive, and generally decent human beings about the fact that I am now covering My Little Pony in my show. Y'all rock, and I mean that with total sincerity. Every now and again, as a way of keeping focus, keeping perspective, I will go and read the comments on like a Jim Sterling video or a Pro Jared video or like an Angry Joe video. And those comments, even the worst I get, are on a totally different tier from those people. Y'all are awesome. So anyways, episode proper. First thing to establish, very important, did this episode qualify as ending on a wah-wah? Because I think it did. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to summarize these, aren't I? Sorry. This is actually the episode in which Rarity offers to make, and makes, a dress for each of the main six. And then they all don't like it, so she makes the dresses they want. And those dresses suck, but then she has a fashion show with the original dresses and it works out. That's the episode, sorry. So, summary. So does this qualify as a wah-wah ending? I think it does, because the ending's like, oh, you've done wonderful, thank you. Next I need you to make 12 new dresses for the coming weekend or whatever. And then she's just like, I think that qualifies as a wah-wah ending. What do you guys think? It doesn't by next Tuesday. Sorry, I wrote it down. I mean, come on. Yeah, even the bells would do the wall. I think that counts. I think that counts. We're going to add that to the list. We're just going to add that here. It's a decent wah-wah, but I've been keeping track because I'm really curious how often they do this. Later on, we'll have to add a new category for the things we're keeping track of, which is total tonal dissonance from the ending song to the ending shot, which is something they do a lot in some of the seasons. Anyways, rewind. So... That's true, we have a new character. Hoity-toity, who's actually not in the show all that often, believe it or not. Like, I remember him as a recurring character because he is, but he generally only shows up for the really Rarity-focused shows. And later on, we'll be seeing the other two fashion ponies more than him, so go figure. I can't think of their names. What are their names? Hang on, help me out here, because there's the magic woman. You know what I'm talking about? And then there's the one who just got kind of a little more of an accent going on for her. And, oh, honey, girl, maybe we shouldn't be doing this one. You know, that woman. Those two. Anyways, I'm sorry. Getting back to it. So, the episode starts off with a little bit of continuity. Photo finish was one of them. That's true. Photo finish was one of them. And they mentioned the Grand Galloping Gala, which the season will end with. And there's this bit where Rarity says, oh, yes, why, I did design this myself. And then she does the duck lips thing. Why is duck lips a thing? Why? Someone explain this to me. I'm apparently old and stupid. Why is duck lips a thing? And then I feel bad for Opal, the cat. Only a little bad. After all, Opal is kind of a brat later on. In just about all of the pet episodes, Opal's the... Duck lips. Go Google right now. Go Google duck lips selfie. So... But it looks terrible, Shikor. I also don't like fake lips, like when you inject stuff into your lips to make them all pop out like that. Looks terrible to me. Anyways, so then, thank you, Vigilant. So then, Rarity's working on, her dress. And there's a funny little thing where Applejack and Twilight Sparkle come in. Or, yes, Twilight Sparkle. I'm getting her name right. Twilight. Applejack and Twilight come in. And they do the whisper thing. I don't know how many people are aware of this, but pro tip, if you start talking like this in a generally normal sound of voice, what you're actually doing is making it a lot more obvious that you're talking. It draws more attention to yourself, not less. That's not actually whispering. I don't have a term for that, but it's basically fake whispering. I've seen people do this in real life when they're trying to be quiet. No, if you need to whisper, you talk like this, and you do it in a very quiet tone, and nobody can actually hear you unless they're actually right there. That's it. That's how you whisper. I was actually speaking just now. I don't know if the mic picked it up. I know how to actually whisper. Talking like this is not whispering. God. Anyways, so they, make Rarity get his attention. Yeah, it's kind of like yelling, but not really. Oh, all right. So then Rarity's like, "Hey, I'll make you a new dress." Notice Twilight actually says no twice. And Rarity insists, no really, no really, no really. 3 insists before Twilight's like, okay, fine. And Twilight also says something that actually was pretty cool. I'm sure it'll be great because you made it. Nice little tidbit. And Applejack's just like, nah. What? No, I can make... Nah. And then Rainbow crashes through the ceiling. Rainbow crash joke is obvious, but... do they just have repair people, regularly? I guess the whole town gets damaged frequently later. We're only up to 1 Ponyville damaged early on. But, I guess there is magic. There's probably a carpenter pony. Actually, that would be really useful. Especially if it was a unicorn. But anyways. Moving on. So this is actually... so obviously this is a very Rarity-centric episode. But it's not just she's into fashion. And can I just say I really appreciate that? I like the fact that it's not just she's into fashion, one-dimensional character. In fact, one of the better parts here, and I'm sure all of you caught this, but I know several people who didn't when I've mentioned this to them, the fact that she's a workaholic. This is actually going to be a regular part of her character, and she will regularly be a person who works way too much and way too hard. Speaking from personal experience, let's just say I can recognize that kind of personality in someone else. But she does... shut up, Shigor. But she does... there's a real passion, though, behind that particular brand of workaholism, where she's doing this because she wants to, right? There's nobody cracking the whip at her. There's nobody threatening her job. She just really wants... she's like, oh my God, that sounds like... and I how many of you have ever been there where you just have an idea and it's like, oh God, I totally want to do that? I personally have had to learn how to say no to those urges, even though it would be totally awesome to do that. One of these days, I'll mention a minor example of this. One of these days, I do actually still hope to make a Magic the Gathering card set for the Lore Walkers for each of you guys, within reason. And that's something that I've had to just kind of mentally push back because I have too much on my plate right now. I can't do a fan project or a fun project like that. Do you know how many personal things and hobbies I have had to force myself not to do? Yeah. So yeah, I'm totally with her on that. Oh my God, I totally want to do that. Oh my gosh. So we got the workaholism. And she also, and I really have to overemphasize this because she basically spends the night making 5 brand new dresses, which she has to design and then actually make. And they have to be unique and they have to be, what's the word? Themed. They have to be themed to an individual. Think about that. That's a lot of work. And that's not just brute work. That's not just chung, 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 chung. No, that's creative work, which is much harder to do on a crunch, which is why grunch needs to stop being a thing in video games. Now, I want to mention this because I'm going to go and admit something that's going to make people think I'm ridiculous and stupid and dumb and awful and terrible. I actually have a very developed sense of fashion. It's something I've studied at various points in my life. I did actually take a few classes on it back in school, and I do think about it semi-frequently. I'm the person who will think very carefully about what I wear to go out to the grocery store. No joke. And I'm sure I'm not the only person like that. This outfit right here, believe it or not, is something I have been working on and polishing on for some time to try and make a very specific, very precise look when it goes to how I present myself on my show. And I'm talking about all this because the fashion person in me, oh yeah, that's another thing. Sorry, one other thing. I've drawn characters. I've designed characters, both in my head and actually out on paper. Because I'm a creator. I've worked, the extant, right? All those characters, they have a look to them, right? So I've had to do that. So as a designer and as someone who appreciates and has a fashion sense, I wanted to take a moment and really analyze each of the 5 outfits because they're really good. I don't mean like they look good or whatever. I mean, they are very well designed, whether you actually like them or not. And I just wanted to give special praise because a real life person had to sit down and really design each of those outfits, which is impressive. So Applejack has a light leather tannish look, already giving her a bit of a rustic tone, which also is the only one with a visible saddle, thus getting across the idea of the workhorse concept. She also has light cowboy boots front only, with a loose overall style, and there's a strong autumn emphasis, light brown, dark brown, green, and red. She also had, instead of having like a hair thing or any decorations to her mane, instead all she did was added these 2 little apple symbols onto the corners of her hat, thereby adding just a little bit of design without going too far. She also has, and I don't remember the name of this, the thing where you've got several leather straps just kind of dangling back there, which is actually a practicality thing, by the way, not a design thing, on the rear of her dress. Twilight's is surprisingly brilliant because it's one of the simplest looking ones, but it's not. So she has a strong deep blue sky approach, and each of the stars that are present is a slightly different shade of light blue or white or gray. Each of those emphasizing, it makes it so that each star is visually distinct from the others, despite the fact that they're all clumped together and only on the edge of the thing. But the fact that they're on the edge rather than spread out throughout the course of the work, rather than making it look like a night sky, makes it look like a stylized night sky, if that makes any sense. It's the kind of thing you would see on like an outline for a picture. Stars, night, focus, right? Thus drawing the attention of the focus to the person wearing it, not the dress itself. It also, Constellation's a good parallel. It also has a lot of negative space approach in general, and continues the same star motif both with the clasp and the hairband. Fluttershy's is actually probably the most brilliant overall. It has light green with vertical stripes on the main dress, which more or less literally makes it look like grass, like she's wearing a grass skirt. However, as anyone will tell you, grass doesn't actually make a very good skirt design, so let's just say it's harder to make something that gives across an idea rather than literally being it than it sounds. So she's got the grass skirt thing going on with light spring-colored flowers with blue on dark blue, blue on light blue, white on light blue, yellow on light blue. Again, all of the light spring colors present with each of the flowers present. And notice her hooves, her front shoes, are vine-inspired, getting across the idea of the literal growing motif. Because if you look at it laterally, linearly, not laterally, what you see is the whole thing looks like it's growing up, specifically. It has that kind of growth motif going on. And of course, that is further added by the fact that the butterflies are up in the hair rather than being down below with the flowers. So again, vertical movement there. Rainbows is actually surprisingly good too. She's got the Greco-Roman thing. Golden leaves up here, and I don't know if you caught this, actual gladiator style wraps, also gold on the front. It's not even shoes in the traditional sense, it's just a particular style of wrapping. This is also then emphasized by the fact that she has a necklace which has grapes on it, again, the Greco-Roman looking thing. And the dress itself, the actual proper dress, is the simplest and the least restrictive, which makes sense for rainbow, and is basically just a rainbow with cloud outline on it. Yeah, it also looks the most like a cape of the 5. Yeah, the Greco-Roman thing fits her perfectly. She literally looks like a stylized gladiator, which leads me to Pinkie Pie. Now, I don't know the proper term for this. It's a 1920s, 1930s thing. I don't remember the style term. I'm not that versed in fashion. But she has that style thing going for her. Very tight, sharp edges, and the hat she's got going on, very flat head hat. And it's all stylized instead of in pink, it's actually predominantly white, light blue, and dark blue. And each of those is designed, there's no layering colors. There's actually a lot of contrast in her outfit. So it's never, dark pink, light blue, dark blue. It's dark pink, white, light blue, white, dark blue, pink. There's always a direct, there's a barrier gap in between the design they're showing. And I think, except for I think on the frill, I could be wrong about that. She also has multiple bows. I counted. One on the hat, 2 on the hooves, 1 on the neck, 2 on the dress. So technically 4 on the dress, because there would be 2 on the other side as well. And the tail part itself, very dark pink, which is highlighted by the candy coverage, which is lollipops and candy corn. And the whole thing has a lot of stripes. Yeah, it looks like a candy keeper. It looks like a candy shop, guy, right? It literally looks like the outfit you'd see for someone who is at a candy store, except more stylized, thanks in no small part to the fact that the whole vertical stripes thing is something that was done by, I believe, Russell Stovers, I want to say. I'm not sure about them, don't quote me. But they used that as their uniform for decades, and it's kind of become shorthand for a candy shop thing. Like a lot of cartoons use the same thing. In short... I'm skipping through some amounts. I don't want to bore you guys too much. But in short, that's a lot of work and effort done to do a lot of design. And I really wanted to go through the play-by-play because that's actually pretty impressive. And if memory serves, they'll be wearing these during the actual Galloping Gala, I think. Anywho. So, after all this, aren't they amazing? Silence. How many of you have ever been there? Yeah, it's a fun feeling, isn't it? Really pour your heart and soul into something, and they're just like, I mean, it's all right, it's okay. Oh yeah, I've been there many times. And it's funny, I want to give really special praise to the woman who voices Rarity. I don't remember her name right now. Because she does a really large amount of great stuff with her voice in this episode. She manages to hit that perfect slice of sounding bothered while trying not to sound bothered, while ensuring... Tabitha St. Germain, thank you. Sounding bothered without actually sounding like she's trying to sound bothered, and insisting that everything's okay... because it is, but also it's going to be horrible, but she's got this. Like, it's this nuanced thing she does wonderfully. She does some good stuff throughout the whole episode, actually. So, meanwhile, so they're like, yeah, we'll start from scratch again. And then we do a big, kind of a montage sort of thing. We also have, 2 songs in this episode. I don't think this episode quite qualifies as a musical, but it does have 2 fairly large musical numbers, so shrug. Either way, we also see that her mane starts to get more and more messy. That says a lot. If she is working so hard that her mane is actually starting to get that she doesn't have time to take it, that really says more than anything else how much she has been spending her time working on this. And again, been there. And she wasn't even doing her own dress. That's also true. Now, another thing I wanted to mention here really quick. She, in the middle of the song, she mentions that she has to keep things under budget. Did you hear that part? I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. It's one line and she just rushes by it. But it caught my attention because it's me. I'll just admit to that one. It caught my attention because it's me. And I was like, now, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure that's actually a take or a dig in character and possibly out. But I have to admit, the world builder in me wonders, is that a little bit of Rarity in character, in lore? Um, just having a gift budget? Now, you're probably thinking, that's insane, Laura. I have a gift budget in real life. I have budgeted as part of my finances money just to give to other people or to buy things for other people. I'm going to be spending a lot of it next week when my mom's in town. Anywho, moving on. So they go through the song. Woo, song's good. Now, this then leads to them saying, okay, here's what we want. Now, obviously, let me just say really quick. Can I just say, the way the main five reacted to their dresses actually kind of pisses me off. Anyone else? I saw a couple of you talking about it in chat while I was still watching the episode. Like, yeah, there's a degree of rudeness there. It's not what we wanted. Even if it's not what you wanted, she threw herself into making those dresses overnight, apparently. I'm not sure of the timeline, but she definitely did it in a short period of time. And is giving them these dresses, and this is important, for free. This is a gift. She designed, built, and made nice dresses for them for a major event they're all excited to go to for free, and they were just straight up rude. It's probably the one part of this episode that just kind of makes me go, ugh, every time I watch it. Because this is a good episode in my opinion, except for that point. God, it makes just... Yeah. Yeah, I could just picture. Hang on. People show up. Smack! Walk off camera. Just a line of people lining up to go ahead and smack each of the main five really quick. Bap! What are you doing? Here, Leafeon, I need you to be... Because I don't have any MLP merchandise. I need you to be a pony really quick. Now, don't look at me like that. Okay, I won't slug you. So... Then we see each of the five is one of the different types of customers. I've worked in web design, I've worked in graphics design, and I have worked in editing and composition, and all three of those are my take on. Or my real life experience on dealing with the types of customers, because it's not just the types of customers in general, right? Like this doesn't apply to going to McDonald's or whatever. But when someone comes to you and is effectively paying for the service of you designing and building something for them, there's like 5 different types of customers for that, and they're pretty accurately represented here. So first we have Applejack. Applejack, of course, just wants the practical thing, right? I don't care how it looks. I don't care if does it work? Because this is what I need. I need it to do this and this and this and this and this. Okay, I can make that. Okay, well I need this and this and this and this. Okay, that we might be getting into over-designed. Anybody familiar with over-designing? That's a real problem. Then there's Pinkie Pie, who just can't decide, who is changing her mind constantly. Well, no, I want this. Well, no, add pink. Well, no, remove pink. A couple more. Now a few less. Okay. Now add some of this. I wonder if this would be cool. Nah, that doesn't look cool. Maybe I should add this thing. Maybe get rid of this thing. Maybe add this thing. Nah, get rid of... How about some streamers? Yeah. More balloons, less balloons. Then there's Twilight. By the way, I have dealt with all 5 of these types of customers. Twilight is really picky about little nitpicky details. And that's basically it. So the things that she knows she wants have to be exactly... precisely what it needs to be. It needs to be this. No. This. Okay, this needs to be this tiny little... Okay, and then it needs to be this. No, you didn't... No, it needs to be like this. Why aren't you doing it like this? Then we have Fluttershy. I'm going to be as nice as I can here because it's Fluttershy and everyone likes Fluttershy, but Fluttershy's the worst, in my opinion, of the 5, in my personal experience with real-life customers. Because Fluttershy is the, oh, I read this in a magazine. And that's what I want. Someone in chat earlier said Fluttershy was a poser, and I tend to agree. That's the type of customer she is portraying here. God. I could tell you some stories. Yeah. And then Rainbow. I've also dealt with customers like Rainbow. Now, customers like Rainbow can be okay. They can also be absolutely aggravating. Because customers like Rainbow are, just make it good. No, make it cool. Make it look cool. Now, the reason they could be aggravating or good is sometimes they basically just let you design, right? They don't really tell you what the hell they want. So you design it, and then you give it to them. And if they like it, cool. Because, you put work into it. They can be aggravating if they don't like it. No. It needs to be cool. Okay. Would you like to clarify that? No, it needs to be cool. All right, give me a minute. Version 2. Here you go. Nah, this isn't what I was thinking. Then what were you thinking? I've had to deal with that type of customer semi-recently, by the way. Like, it wasn't, I shouldn't say customer, it was a friend who was asking me to design something for them, for their class. Here, can you make this? Yeah, sure. Here you go. No, I needed to look, I don't remember the word. There was an adjective that she used. It was just, I needed to look more this. Okay. Throw together thing, toss it. Nah. God. Anyways. So, the second dresses are not actually unveiled, which is a nice little storytelling point. And all of them, now this is a nice character point. And again, Rarity-centric episode. All the ponies say, it's exactly what I wanted. And Rarity, she's actually happy. She smiles. There's this relief, like, oh, I'm glad that you like it. It's. I think they're crimes to fashion, but my friends are happy. Priorities. We get that priority list thing just keeps coming up, doesn't it? So it's just, oh, yes, awesome. My friends are happy. And Opal's reaction to the dresses is great. It's just terrible. And then Spike shows up. And a tiny bit of world building happens. Did you catch it? Spike personally went to one of the big fashion ponies in Canterlot and informed him of Rarity's thing and got Toity to come out. Did you catch that? That's actually one of several points that'll be in the background several times throughout the show about how connected Spike actually is in Canterlot. I've always gotten the impression that while Twilight's was locked in being a bookworm back in Canterlot, Spike was doing the opposite and just going out and talking to everyone, right? Because he knows everyone at Canterlot. So, anyways. Yeah, Spike's the secretary with context. That's true. That's even supported by the first episode where he had the gift for the party and she's like, what? Party? No, I'm working. What? Anyways. Spike would get along with Majima. I actually agree with that. I know, his name is Hoity Toity. I was trying to figure out what his cutie mark was. It looks like a fan you fan yourself with. I'm not sure, though. Anyways, I haven't zoomed it up. It was too blurry, though. So, Spike, brings in. And this is a good bit of story building. It's actually several minutes between, them finishing making the dresses and when we, the audience, actually get to see them. In fact, we, the audience, get to see the dresses at the same time that everyone else does, which is a nice little touch, if I might be so bold. Because it means that we, the audience, get the same reaction that they, the audience, do. I wanted to do a full dissertation of the second dresses, just like I did the first. But if I'm being completely honest, I ran out of time. It took a while to sit down and type all those notes up for the first dresses. So I didn't actually do that. I could do it live if you want. I could just pull the episode back up and pull it up. But either way, they're awful. Let's just summarize. They really are awful, which I know this is going to sound like a strange thing, but let me just once again say praise to the artist who actually designed those things. Because it actually makes, it again, takes effort to do that. It takes skill and craft to design, to do something deliberately badly. We've talked about that before, right? Like it's hard to sound like you're a bad voice actor when you're a good voice actor. That takes talent. Yeah, so that takes talent, and once again, credit for that. Just so poor Rarity. Her nerves look terrible, and she literally has to shove the kitchen sink aside. That made me laugh. I'll go ahead and admit that got a real laugh out of me. Oh, also, I believe this is the first time we see Pone 3, if I'm not mistaken, the DJ, who will be a very minor recurring character in the future. But I had to look up her name. I'll have to be honest, though. I think it's a her. Yeah, DJ Pone 3. Yep. So I've seen real life fashion shows, both in person and on TV. Can I just say that it's kind of funny how accurately they portray fashion shows? Both times, actually. Because there's 2 fashion shows in this episode. And both of them really do kind of... Yeah, I've seen fashion shows like that. Speaking of good design, there's a nice little bit of good sound design where Rarity is coming out to take a bow, and you can hear the audience kind of, and there's this very light creaking metal sound as they're turning around on the circle, which you'll notice wasn't there earlier. I just wanted to point that out because good sound design is the sort of thing you're never supposed to notice unless you're looking for it. And in my experience, everyone who I've ever known who has worked in sound design tends to notice those little things like that. And I like to point them out to help other people recognize all the effort that goes into little details like that. Look, I'm with Shikor. Modern fashion sucks. I've seen modern fashion shows. What the hell? Anywho, so then Rarity is like, "Ah!" Funny thing, later on it'll become kind of a running gag that Rarity overreacts to stuff. She actually has perfectly valid reason to feel completely humiliated here, though. I mean, worked herself to the bone, was rejected. Worked herself to the bone again, made garbage, but it's okay because her friends are happy. Oh, now the garbage has to be shown to the whole town, and also hoity-toity. And also it's all on her, and okay, yeah, no, that's legitimately pretty bad. I would probably be... I don't even have a word. I would be mortified if I was Rarity in that position, and I had her personality. And again, wonderful praise to the actress. I also got to give huge praise to the animators. I know that sounds like a strange thing to comment on, but I noticed how they do a lot with her in this, especially during that section, which is when I really mentioned it here. But Rarity has a lot of really different and non-standard, non-template animations that they clearly designed just for her in this episode. And it's really good stuff. They did some really good stuff that I wanted to give praise there too. Again, pointing out the little details. Also, I like that little tidbit. She only has one cat. Give her time. What are you supposed to pack when you go into exile? Do you pack warm? So, one of the things I like that this episode is, and this is probably supposed to be a message episode. In my opinion, it kind of fails as a message episode, to be just blunt. But there is one message in the episode which I don't think was intended at all. And that message is, don't say you're sorry, act you're sorry. Words are cheap. I mean, at the end of the day, words are cheap, however sincere you mean them. However, taking action to demonstrate that you're sorry and trying to, through action, make up for it, that's something else. And you notice the main 5, to their credit, do actually go out of their way and actually show that they're sorry. Getting the cat up there, fixing up her dress, and then bringing hoity-toity back to do the second fashion show to make it up to her. So, that's awesome. Unfortunately, the intended message is literally don't look a gift horse in the mouth, which, whatever. I have nothing really to say about that. I do also want to mention, though, we've already heard that a unicorn's magic is specifically related to their thing, their shtick. And you notice that there's a lot of magic in going into the presentation of the show for the second fashion show. And actually, I'm kind of with that. Like, obviously, the part of the presentation there is supposed to be, what we're saying, not what they're saying. But there's enough of a bleed over that I think enough of that was literally illusion magic that was being used to sell part of the show. Because it's all part of the presentation of the style of it, which is definitely Rarity's thing, and thus would definitely tie in with her particular shtick. It's also, I didn't even think about that, Aethel. It's entirely possible that Twilight's magic was getting involved as well, because Lord knows she's got enough magical oomph to be able to pull off some of the things that were happening. I was just assuming it was a pure illusionary thing, but it could be. I don't know. As Punch-Out music starts playing. I know you can't hear it. At least I do have it muted, right? I'm going to feel stupid. Okay, nope, it's muted. We're good, we're good. Whew. Freaking out there for a second. Anyways. So yeah, the lesson with this stupid letter. Now, Shadowlink says he misses the letter journal writing show caps. I wanted to comment on that because I'm actually kind of glad they went away. But at the same time, I'm not that glad. Like, I was kind of an ambivalent thing, and I was curious of other people's thoughts on the matter. I know Lauren Faust herself mentioned that she wanted those to keep going, and obviously they did not. To me, it seems like the kind of thing South Park would do as a parody. I learned something today. Right? You ever seen South Park? They do that all the time. You see, I learned something today. Summary of the episode. I guess, I don't know. I am both for and against them. Because, again, obviously I'm against them as me. Because it just seems like an unnecessary recap. And oftentimes I tend to disagree with what's being put in the letter. We've already covered episodes where I think the actual lesson of the episode was not what she put in her letter. But at the same time, it was nice to see her, continuing to connect to her. And, later on, the Cutie Mark Crusaders would send some letters and, blah, 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 blah. It was a nice bit. One of the things, that is a good message. I agree with that, Dream Whisperer. One of the other things I have to mention, I know the one you're talking about, Shikor. I know exactly the one. This is going to sound like a strange comparison, but I'm reminded of Star Trek Voyager. So Star Trek Voyager, let me just do a quick recap because I don't know how much bleed over there is in my audiences here, is a show that starts off, there's a starship, and it's way on the other side of the galaxy, and it's basically stranded there. That's the premise. That's all you really need to know. Now, what should have happened is that over time, as you're going through the episodes and the seasons, they should have faced different types of threats. Like, it should have started out survivalist. Like, oh, God. Okay, no, barely surviving and enduring. Then it should have been more about connecting and trying to find some kind of progress. And then, it could have been about trying to actually ingratiate themselves and maybe finding a way to boost their journey and then trying to deal with the current threat of the Borg and blah, 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 blah. But they didn't do any of that. But my point is they should have. Now, this is the point I'm leading towards with regards to My Little Pony. For me, the message at the letter to Celestia at the end feels like the kind of thing that should have been a 1 or 2 season thing only, which is actually what it is. And then they should have moved on from that, which they did. The problem is, by memory, they don't really move on to anything else. There's no other recurrent thing. And I do like recurrent things, like kind of a recurrent pattern or thematic connection across a season, right? Like, I'm with that. Now, I know that there's the one season where they keep seeing the things that will lead to the Tree of Harmony bit. I think that's season 3. But, like, I think that and the letters are it. I could be wrong about that. Either way. Moving on. So I mentioned the letters. I mentioned Rarity's character. I mentioned the wah-wah. I think that's everything. So we're up to, what are we up to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're up to 7 wah-wahs by episode 14. That's pretty bad. So we will go ahead and drop off the local recording.